British troops have now been operating in Afghanistan for more than a decade, but UK armed forces were first deployed to the country well over 100 years ago. In a small cemetery compound in the centre of Kabul, their sacrifices are remembered. Our reporter James Banks has been to the graves of those who fell back in the 19th century.
Like his father before him, Abdul Samay holds a key that unlocks the tales of foreign travellers whose final resting place is hidden behind these weathered wooden gates. Abdul's late father, Rayamullah, cared for the historic grounds through years of adversity as the Taliban sought to destroy the memory of the infidels who died here in Afghanistan.
My
father wasn't allowed to come into the British cemetery because of the Taliban. He used to tell them that he was just here to graze animals and collect firewood, when instead he was looking after the graves.
The cemetery was built on the site of the Sherpur cantonment, a large British camp established during the latter part of the 19th century, around the time of the Second Afghan War. Since then it's become the final resting place for soldiers and foreign travellers alike. However, under the reign of the Taliban, the cemetery was vandalised and many of the graves were desecrated.
The graves that were there from the 1879 war were actually lost, and most of the gravestones from about 26 members of the army were smashed and broken over time. Luckily, a few fragments remain, and those are now embedded in the wall.
One of those saved was the grave of Lieutenant Charles Hersey of the 9th Lancers. He was killed on the 11th of December 1879 in the nearby Chadha Valley. As Afghan law doesn't permit foreign nations to own land, the cemetery can't be cared for by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, but funding led by the British Embassy has enabled Abdul Samay to continue to care for the land. In this small corner of Kabul, you really get a sense of the history behind the British involvement here in Afghanistan, from the graves of those who fought for long-forgotten regiments to the names on the plaques of those who have fallen in more recent times. The withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan means many of the memorials built in bases and FOBs to remember the fallen may be taken back to the UK. But in this haven of tranquility amongst the polluted and bustling streets of Kabul, their names will always be remembered in the country where they fell, alongside the graves of those that have fallen before them. James Banks, Forces News, Kabul.